Hi, how you doing? I see Miss Rosita is here, but what's up? How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Well, I just got here. I hope y'all can see me. I went to the Cook County Board finance meeting, and it was Lollapalooza this week. So with Lollapalooza, Ms. Rosita, if somebody can call Dr. Rosita and let her know. I see her, she's here, but I think she paused. I tried to call her a few times to let her know I'm here now. All right. Hello, how you doing? How you doing? Yes, I went to the committee, the Cook County Cook County Board meetings. The finance meetings are this week, so I went there and it ran late, and then I happened to get on the bus to head back south. Lollapalooza has all those streets blocked off, so you can't get anywhere. So, but I'm here now, and hopefully Dr. Rosita will be on here soon. Well, she did. Okay, there she is. Okay, Dr. Rosita.
Hey.
All right.
All right.
So sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm on the air. Someone just called me. Okay.
Okay. All right. So, Dr. Rosita, first of all, thank you very much for taking the time to come on my platform to talk about some stuff that is super serious and important. So that's number one. And I have some questions.
My book, because
yes, I'm about to put it up now.
Okay, great.
Yeah. About to get it popping. Hello, everybody that is in chat. Yes. Usually I'm like prepared, but it's budget week for Cook County, so I had to go in there and listen to those lives and how I'm going to try to make excuses about a whole bunch of stuff. It doesn't make any sense. All right. Let's get it up here. How have you been, Dr. Rosita?
Well, busy, great. In the struggle, trying to resolve some of the inequities and injustices that we've been plagued with due to this education nightmare that started right here in Chicago. So we're ground zero for the nonsense. We're ground zero for school reform. And the end result of that is that in Chicago, we have over 10,000 Black educators fired as a result. The numbers, actually, if we look at the real numbers, they go as high as 14,000. But we know definitely, well, I say 14,000 because in the late 90s, I have the data, Black teachers were 45 to 50% of a 20,000 member union. So that means there had to be at least 18 to 19 African-American teachers. Today, there are 4,000 and dropping. So 14,000 Black teacher positions were eliminated. Just a moment. I want to get a drink because 14,000 positions were eliminated. So what we have, so when we're counting, what we had is the Chicago Teachers Union on 2 occasions who participated in the mass firing of Black teachers. One was in the late 90s. And so in the late 90s, we had a union president named Debbie Lynch.
Okay.
And Debbie Lynch met with Mayor Daley. And in the late 90s, Debbie Lynch gave up what we call system-wide seniority, which meant teachers, if you close a school on the South Side, then the teachers on that side would have system-wide seniority, meaning they could bump any young teacher out of their spot that they had. They could bump a young white teacher out. So if I've just hired a lot of young white teachers to replace these veteran teachers, predominantly Black, the last thing I want is for me to close the school on the South Side, all you all run to the North Side and bump these teachers out of their spots. In order to eliminate that, Mayor Daley had to get the CTU at that time to give up system-wide seniority. As soon as they gave up system-wide seniority, then Mayor Daley then used that clause to close 100 schools. I know everyone always talks about the 50 schools. No one realizes that before the 50 schools, there were 100 schools. So
there were 100 schools.
There were 100 schools that closed. And those schools closed for, quote, low scores. And when I say, quote, what I mean by that, I worked at the first school that closed, Daniel Hale Williams, in 2002, 2021. That was the school year. When our school closed, they moved our students to the brand new building, NTA. They told the kids that we were no good and that they were going to get them some real teachers. Well, when they moved them over there, that's in my book too, I kept the scores for NTA for 5 years in NTA. Our scores were 40-something% when they closed William, and for 5 years, the scores in NTA were 14%. So we're like, okay, you moved the children out of a school where at least the scores were 40% into a school where now only 14% of the children are achieving. And the only way they got the scores up at NTA was to knock down the ickies. They got a whole new set of students. When they got tired of these kids that they couldn't get the scores up, when they knocked down the Ickes project, the big buildings on 22nd, well, the kids are gone. So now we have a whole group of new students. So when Daley, this is what happened when Daley closed the school. And in my book, in the second chapter.
Yeah, I'm working. I'm waiting for it to load up. So I have it. It's just waiting for it to load up.
Okay. Yeah. So we're not on yet, are we?
No, we are.
We're on YouTube. Okay. I was wondering, you still load up. Okay. Yeah. So anyway.
They listening. They like, yeah.
So that's what happened. Now, when that happened in 2002, Williams, Dodge, and Terrell closed. So when our school closed, in my book, you'll see the picture. My students were protesting because we had just done the Montgomery bus boycott. So when I went back to my room, I'm like, okay, they're getting ready to close our school. Okay, let's go. So the students had their protest sign, and those things are pictures are in the book too, where the students came down and we were going 1, 2, 3, 4. Hecky no, we won't go. So when we did all of that, we realized that our pastors, Mayor Daley, and my pastor, and Mayor Daley, Leon Finney. It was just a whole press conference where the Black pastors were saying, yeah, close them. Well, a lot of the Black pastors wanted the schools to close because Daley had promised them a school. So if I close these, quote, bad schools, you can get a school. So a lot of the pastors were like, yeah, close them. So after we realized we didn't have any support.
You know some of the pastors' names?
Yes, my pastor was then Bishop Brazier. And I love Bishop Brazier. He was my pastor. He did call me. And what he said to me was, I thought the mayor promised me that if you had good teachers in the building, that they would not be fired. And I said, Bishop, that is not true. They are cleaning house. Everybody here is being fired. So I moved on because here's the thing. We were all on a do not hire list because I kept looking for work. And wait, when they closed our school, all of the AKAs, all of the Deltas, all of the Black Greeks came and hired their people. They came and if you were a Delta principal came and got you. If you were a AKA principal came and got you. And they hired you and took you to their school. If you didn't belong to any Black Greek organization, which I didn't, I was on my own. So I thought, okay, I'll just go find work elsewhere. That wasn't going on. Everywhere I called, they were like, there is no work. So, and then I thought back, I said, all the teachers, I had about 5 teachers in our building retired. And this is what got me. 5 of those teachers, they left in March. They were all AKAs and sorority. And I kept saying, well, why are they leaving in March? The school year isn't open until June. Why are they all jumping ship? Well, what I didn't know, in retrospect, I know now, was that they knew, because they were on the in crowd, that the school was going to close. And the word out was, if you get caught in that building, when that school closes, you are on the do not hire list. So a lot of teachers, they just put them on the list because they happened to be working at a school. Now, the AKAs, they came and hired their AKA colleagues and the Deltas. And if you didn't know that, so I didn't have a choice. I called my pastor and say, look, Bishop, I don't know what's going on, but I can't find work. At that point, I have 4 children, so I needed my job. After I talked to him, he said, don't worry about it. And the next interview I went on, I was hired. So I was taken off the hit list, obviously, at that point. So this is what the history is. So fast forward. So you do all of this stuff. You close 100 schools. The next president, Marilyn Stewart, decided, and she was actually pretty good, which we didn't know at that point in retrospect. She decided that because they had given up our system-wide seniority, she wanted to protect the teachers by giving them automatic tenure so they couldn't be fired. So after 4 years, if you stayed at a school, you got tenure. That was supposed to protect you, okay? Up until 2010. That is when Karen Lewis was hired. When Karen Lewis was elected as president, another issue came up. The city wanted to take away, not system-wide, but seniority in economic layoffs. Now, what did Rhyme went, and he kept saying on TV, if anybody remembers, I have everything I want. Well, when Karen went to Springfield and signed away some crucial things, we call it a union busting bill. The union called it a union busting bill. Karen left the union and had been told by everyone. They said, whatever you do, don't go down there alone. Because that's what happened to Debbie Lynch. She went alone. And they took system-wide seniority. Karen went alone to Springfield. And
Karen Lewis.
She got there. She signed over. I mean, the stuff she gave away, the union wasn't worth anything. So we had to go back and beg the legislators to give the union back half of what Karen lost. Let me tell you what they wouldn't give back. The longer school day with no pay. So teachers signed, she signed teachers up there to work 2 extra hours with no pay. They lost their seniority in economic layoffs. That meant that whenever Ron said, I don't have any money, there's a boatload of veteran teachers that are tenured that are going to go straight to the unemployment line. So that's how we lost the other 8,000. Under the first 5,000 was lost under Debbie Lynn. 7,000 to 8,000 went out under Karen Lewis. And the reason why and that's why everybody was Karen. And I said, we lost almost all of our Black teaching force under Karen Lewis. And this is critical because during the election, I remember looking, I still have the data. I looked at the data in 2010 and Karen Corps did not carry a single Black elementary school. And that I said, oh my God, if they have to sacrifice, they're going to sacrifice these Black elementary schools because they want to be reelected. Karen won with 27% of the vote in a runoff. Maryland had a runoff. So look, who am I going to get rid of if I want to stay president? I got to get rid of the people that didn't vote for me. And Karen didn't carry not one elementary school in the Black community. And I saw that. That's what made me want to go to the union. And I thought, maybe I could do something. That was foolish. maybe I could do something. So I started a campaign. I started a campaign for Black teachers.
I'm listening.
Because this is what happened. Before I met Karen then, we had teachers laid off and we were already meeting at Operation Push. Now, before I met her, once I met Karen, they didn't want to work with Reverend Jackson at that point. Now they over there every 5 minutes. They didn't want to work with him because the young Jewish people said, that he called them Hymies, the statement he made in New York, and they were still angry over that. So they said, so we were meeting at Push, my organization. When Karen and them saw us meeting there, they came over to Push. And when they came over to Push, it was really kind of funny. They tried to push me out of my meeting. I was meeting there, and they tried to overtake my meeting. And they had John Kugler, who worked for them. He's a young white guy. And he was like, no, I'm not taking over Rosita's meeting. She's been meeting here, and they were invited to Push. So we kept meeting there. And then the union finally figured, well, we can't take over what she's doing, so we'll bring her on board. But they brought me on board just to say, okay, look, we brought her on board. We brought her on board to fire me. Because they wanted to say, oh, she's out there. And so, we'll pull her in. We'll give her a chance. They had no intention of keeping me there. They had no intention. They told me the Black teachers were like, it's too bad, so sad. So, you're on your own. And so after I, realized, well, it was a lot going on because I had a case. They absolutely threw my case. When you're going through this and people say, why didn't you file a lawsuit? Well, I filed a lawsuit and I can't really talk much about the case, so I'll move on.
Okay.
but because we're in federal court now. But I will say this, the case was thrown. They literally set me up so I could, and I found, when I went through this, I found out a lot of things I had no idea. And I just couldn't understand why they did not want to represent me properly. Because they did, but they sabotaged everything. But we'll move forward. But anyway, so after that, I was at the union, and I'm just really pushing ahead. They filed a lawsuit the week before they were elected, 4 Black teachers. You can look at it. Now, here's the thing. You go to court, there's a Black judge named Judge Core. The case is in the book also. You go to Judge Core, and Judge Core is Black judge just like, okay, you filed a lawsuit, great. He wanted teachers to win, right? So he goes through his papers, and he's looking, he says, did you ask for the teachers' jobs back? And Robin Potter, who is the mother of the vice president, now said no. So this Black judge is like, what? He said, you didn't ask for their jobs back? And she said no. And he said, what? Why did you file this lawsuit? And she said, to preserve future tenure, something like that. And
that's Robin Potter?
Yeah, Robin Potter. And the judge looked at her, and he just, like, he jumped, like he was so angry. Now we're sitting over here naive as whatever. We don't know why he's acting like that. And we're looking at each other like, what's wrong? He told her, he said, what did you file a lawsuit? And when she said to preserve future tenure, he told her basically to shut up and go sit down. But he was really angry. And we're like, why is he doing that? You know, why is he being so mean? You know, and then when she went back, she was shaking her head like this. And he said, you shake your head one more time in a public, and he said, I will charge you and find you in contempt. And like we're just little naive teachers wondering, hey, you know, what the world is going on? So we moved on, to come to find out, she never asked for the teachers' jobs back. Why? Because you didn't want them to come back. Okay? So that was the first lawsuit. Then you go back. Well, of course, you're going to appeal. Now, this is what happened during the appeal. I was working with those teachers. So during the appeal, they're down there for 2 years, meeting that push. And we're all hoping that, you know, they're going to, well, first of all, if you didn't ask for their jobs back in the first, how are you going to get during the appeal? You didn't ask for it. So right. Now you appeal. What do you appeal for? A stalling tactic. So make the teachers feel okay for 2 years. Because after 2 years, they lose their seniority right. They lose their status. And after 2 years, the teachers were calling, and Karen and the rest of them were saying to them, I don't know why you calling down here. I can't do anything to help you. Who told you to go to stop calling down here and whining about you? That's what they were telling the teachers, whining about your jobs. So this went on until I kept working with the teachers and trying, because, you know, number one, after being out and realizing that the union was not going to help them, I knew the union was not going to help them. And I had formed cause. So I said, look, guys, I will do what I can. I'm limited because I'm not an attorney, but I will do what I can to help you. So afterwards, I kept meeting. After I left there, they were so angry with me when I kept meeting. They did everything in their power to silence us. I used to be on WVON with Philip, and I just want to say this to you, because we're a nonpartisan group, and we've been out here for years trying to get the Democratic Party to help us in any way. I have been to legislators. I have worked on people's campaign and helped them get elected. And as soon as they got elected, they stabbed us in the back. They wouldn't speak to you. And I'm like, all we're asking to do is to change a little policy. Because we're on this do not hire policy. What happens? You can't work anywhere. First of all, they put it on the internet. They act like you did something. In my case, I was supposed to have pinned somebody. Okay, right. So anyway, it never happened. There's no proof of it. The police came out and said it didn't happen, but that didn't matter. So, but anyway, as we move forward, teachers who are being accused of stuff, teachers who have been superior and excellent for 20 years, overnight. Now, that's because of the bill Karen signed. She gave up their seniority rights in academic layoff. So what did Rhyme do? He said, I think I'll close 50 schools, right? Remember the 50 schools?
Yeah,
because the teachers had no seniority. All the veteran teachers that had worked their whole lives, they went straight to the unemployment line. Teachers don't go to the straight employment line. They go into the teacher pool for 3 years. So to have, you're not fired. You just got to look for work. After they lay you off. No, they all went to this unemployment line. Now, most of these people were making 80, 90, maybe 100,000 a year. Okay, when they go back to look for work, the principal, who now has a principal's budget that is new. Teachers used to be paid from central office, but now every principal has a certain amount of money. Now you coming in and you're a veteran teacher. You got 25 years. You got 2 masters. You in lane 5. You $100,000. Guess what? Principal's not going to hire you because she can't afford you. She could get 2 young teachers. So the reason why they did that was to purge the system of, now they didn't do it to the white teachers on the north side because none of the schools, of the 163 schools closed. Of the 163 schools that closed, 160 were on the south and west side. They didn't bother the north side. So there were some white teachers in those schools, but all they did was go back to their community and, they got jobs. Where was the black teacher going to go? They couldn't get rehired in their own community because they were making too much money. So Rom, during this period of time, Rom ended up just, when Karen signed the union busting bill, they said Rom went and asked Kimberly Lightford, because she was the sponsor of the bill, did she sign the bill? And the word is that Kim looked up and said yes. They said Rom sat down on the chair and laughed so hard he fell off the chair because he knew. So in response to that, in response to what Karen did, the CTU was pissed now,
right.
Because not only did they lose everything, they have nothing in their arsenal to fight back with. The teachers don't have any seniority rights. They got to work the longer school day with no pay. They signed up for this horrible reach evaluation that's very subjective. So they signed up for all of this stuff, and they didn't have any power. So the union people are actually mad, and they're pissed, and they're calling Karen all kind of insulting names and fighting internally. So where does Karen go then? Because Karen is biracial. Her mom's Jewish. She considers herself Jewish, and her dad's black. Where does Karen go now? Her back is up against the wall. The union people are pissed, and they're fighting her internally. Y'all, that's in the book. They're fighting her internally. And when they're fighting her, having these internal fights, Karen decides she's got to be a black girl now. She's got to go. She's got to go to the black community.
You got to go to the black.
She got to go to the black community. So if you remember, she hooked up with Reverend Jackson.
Oh, cool.
During the strike, everybody, at first, they didn't want anything. They told me it was people don't deal with. All of a sudden, I'm sitting here watching all of this stuff on TV. So they are marching down, and now Reverend Jackson is heading. He's in charge. Well, the whole idea was to pay Reverend Jackson. So they ended up, the IFT, the AFT, and the CTU ended up coughing up almost $500,000 for that to happen.
They had to pay Jesse Jackson $500,000?
Close to that.
Oh, okay.
All the unions pitched in. The American Federation, in order to bring him on board. So they, now at this point, when they're doing all of this, poor little me, because now I'm nothing, because I'm working. So when they gave Reverend Jackson the money, guess who did not get the contract renewed?
Who didn't get the contract? Teachers.
Because they were like, hey, who is Rosita? Who? Nobody knows her. We don't need her representing Black teachers. Look, we got the King of Kings. We have Reverend Jackson. What do we need Rosita for? So, here I am with 3 kids in college trying to figure out what I'm going to do. So eventually, and it was a saga, but let me say this. If I had to do it again, I'd do it again. And because what I went through, I'm not the same person. I have grown leaps and bounds. I am so thankful that they pulled me out and made me grow, because I was like all the other little teachers in the classroom, doing what I had to do, working with the children, being happy, but that obviously wasn't my mission. And I used to get up and pray and say, God, I don't know what's going to happen, but if you allow this, I totally accept it.
This was it right here?
Yes. That's when they had the march. And look at everybody. Look at Karen. Look at everybody. And
Bobby
all of these people. And I was sitting at home watching everything. And they went, but here's the thing. When they did this, they went on strike. Now, wait a minute. Karen has signed away everything.
She signed away everything.
The teachers can't get anything. Nothing.
She done gave it all to Jesse?
They can't get anything out of the strike. Right. So I'm sitting next to Karen in a meeting, because at this point, before she went to join up with Reverend Jackson, the young Jewish people and the young people that were in the unions, they were like, really just, are you crazy? They were going to meetings, standing up in front of 1,400 people, calling Karen all kind of names. You're a liar. You're a cheater. You sold the teachers out. And they were just going through berserk on Karen. So I'm in a meeting at a court, and I'm sitting there. So this guy that Earl Salibar, he had went off on Karen in a labor meeting with 1,400 people. So I'm sitting next to Karen, and Karen comes over and she grabs my purse and she said, don't sit next to them, Rosita. Don't sit next to them. Now, this is in the part where I'm thinking about, okay, I don't think you guys are going to sign my contract. So I said who I want to sit with. And I'm going to talk about you too, because I'm sitting over. So she grabs my coat, grabs my purse, and moves to another table. And because she said, why are you talking to him? I said, well, he's my friend. Earl Salibar is my friend. So we moved to the next table. And as we're sitting to the next table, Karen starts a meltdown. She starts beating on the table and crying. And I'm looking at her like, wait a minute, what is really going on here? And she sit next to me and she starts saying, I know I fucked up. Excuse my expression. I know I effed up.
Okay.
I know I did, but we got to do something. And I'm thinking like, what? What do you have to do?
Right.
Turned out, we decide we're going to take the teachers out on a strike. So I'm like, take them out on a strike. I thought they were going to, I knew they were all going to be fired, but I just didn't know how. And I had been going to the House of Delegates. And as I'm thinking about this should have been in my book, but I forgot. But next time, I have been taking these flyers saying, you're going to be fired. You're all going to be fired, to the teachers, to the House of Delegates. I didn't know how they were all going to be fired. I knew it was going to be a deal where it was like the air traffic control. But I kept saying, they said, Rosita, you don't know what you're talking about. When she said take them out on strike, I said, how are you going to bring them back in? You've given away all their rights. They have no protection under anything. Well, that's how all of them went to the when I went back to the House of Delegates, and the Black teachers would be saying to me, Rosita, you don't know what you're talking about. But when I went back, they were all gone. They had all been fired. And then they would inbox me, you were right, Rosita. You were right. I said, I read Senate Bill 7. When I was in the office with one of my colleagues' mentors, Mr. England, and we were looking at it, and I looked at Henry and I said, Henry, they're all getting ready to be fired. And he said, I know. When we read Senate Bill 7, we knew what the play was going to be. And I would make my little flyers and I would go out there. And that's one of the things as I'm talking, if I do a second edition, I would take these flyers and it was saying, I would talk about lay it out. This is why you're going to be fired. So they all were fired and put on the do not hire list. Now here's the do not hire list is a secret list. The do not hire list, we didn't know we were on it. Nobody knew they were on the list. One day we were working at CTU and Karen came in and said, stop talking about the do not hire list. It doesn't exist.
That's what Karen Lewis said.
And we're thinking she's the union president. I mean, it doesn't exist. And we're looking at each other like, what? It doesn't exist. And everybody stopped talking about it. But later to find out, they admitted. CPS said it does exist. And so people have been on this list for almost, and the list has been weaponized against teachers. Say, for instance, we have people, one of my executive director, she's on the list. She has a PhD in technology, Dr. Barnett. She's on the list for reporting a sexual assault how can you be on the list when you're mandated to report it? But the problem was she didn't tell the principal that she was doing this. This is where the problem came in. And the principal got angry because when she found out it was happening in her building, she retaliated. Now the teacher doesn't have any way, so they fired. She retaliated against her. The do not hire list, one of my very good colleagues who works out in Joliet, he simply got on the list because he had been working since he was 21. By the time he got 50, he had 30 years of service. They don't want these people to get these pensions. Oh, let me say this. The reason why they didn't want people to get the pension was because Mayor Daley took a pension holiday and didn't pay into the pension for 20 years.
Daley Jr.
So, Mayor Daley. So he took a pension holiday for 20 years. He did not pay into the pension. Well, all these teachers are getting ready to retire, but they don't have any pension. So what we've got to do is make sure they don't get a retirement. we got to make sure if they get a retirement, it's half of what they were supposed to get.
What was that pension called again that he didn't pay?
It was just the teacher pension. The city was supposed to pay 70% and the teachers pay 20%. So he didn't pay his part for 20 years. So for 20 years, this mayor said, I'm not paying into the pension. Well, when the teachers got ready to retire, there was no pension. This is the reason why they had to get rid of all the veterans, because the veterans were like making $100,000. Well, you have no pension. So they sent a memo to the principal and told them to fire anybody that has 17 years or more. So if you had 17 years with CPS, you were on the hit list. So they would make up anything. They would tell anything about what you were doing. I mean, they would make up stuff, like, okay, in Walter's case, Walter's leaving the school. Somebody comes up and puts some supplies on his desk. And he's thinking, okay, I got some new staplers. I got new this. He comes back the next day. They call him in and they say, you got bullets on your desk. And he said, bullets? And now they have come up and put some bullets on his desk. And then say, he's gone. Now he gets sent to the little teacher prison for investigation. So when he gets there, he writes a book called Trust No Man while he's there. But he writes a book and they automatically, they couldn't find anything on him. This is a young Black man that's bilingual, is fluent in Spanish and English, grew up down on the low end, which we could have used somebody like him, but they got rid of him. He went to work somewhere else and been doing just fine since he left, but he's on the do not hire list. They ended up putting him back in the school because they couldn't find anything he did. And then because Karen made it possible with this union busting bill for the principals to fire the teachers almost on spot. I was going around to schools like CVS, New Sullivan. Principals were calling me and say, Rosita, would you come and explain to these teachers that if I want to fire them with this new legislation, I can fire them on the spot. Would you, because see, the union had them all pumped up and they were talking big and bad stuff. And I said to you all, the contract isn't what it used to be. If that principal tells you, that's what Doris was saying. I said, Doris, if I told those teachers, if that principal tells you to do something, you want your job, the union is not going to help you. They signed away. Oh, you better do what they say. You better try to make it with that principal that hired you. Because once you go to the union, you are done. The union is not going to help. First, they just gave away all your protection. And so the union decided, when the union busting bill, this was part of it, you don't have any due process right. And the reason why they decided to get rid of teacher due process rights in that bill was because when I close 50 schools, I know I have like thousands of teachers that have the right to due process, right? Guess how many attorneys I've got? 4. I've got 4 union attorneys. How are they going to handle thousands of teacher cases? I have to make it possible. I make it law that they don't have the right to representation. So when the principal fires them, they're not coming down here to the union. They're going to the unemployment line. This is the deal. And this is the deal that this caucus is in there now. And I talk about it. And see, the reason why I appreciate what you're doing is because we are blocked on Black radio. They will not interview us. Because guess what? When they saw me coming with Philip Jackson, I would be on Philip Jackson so much. Salim asked me one day, are you the new co-host? Philip was doing when I did my petition, I was sitting here at night, and Philip said, Rosita, you got to do something to, it's action time. I said, well, maybe I'll do a petition. I sat here and put the petition like the other one together, but I got tired and I went to bed. And the next morning, everybody's calling me. And my petition has gone viral. And guess who put it out? Philip Jackson. He wrote it. Philip was the only person that would even on WVON, Black Radio, that would even acknowledge, because Philip was head of the CPS at one point. So Philip knew everything I was saying was real. He was an educator. He was in education. So he knew, what Rosita's talking about is real. He went so. So when Philip passed, they have blocked us. What ended up happening, one day, the union found out I was coming on Philip's show. And guess who they bought a show for? Brandon Johnson.
Brandon Johnson.
When they found out I was coming on.
Did you work with Brandon Johnson?
Brandon took, when I left, they made Brandon, I told you when they pushed me out, they made Brandon a Southside regional organizer, and he took my spot. He took the job I had when I left. And when Brandon came on, I mean, I sent you that. He said some really nice things about me. But I guess I became an enemy. I don't know how I got to be an enemy, but he said I was wonderful, everything. But I mean, it just, I became an enemy somehow. But anyway, he ended up. So after I left, Brandon took the spot that I had. And then they took Brandon to counter me, and they bought him a show for a couple of years on WVON. Now, little old me, I don't have $6,000 every 6 weeks to pay.
Right.
Yeah. I didn't have $6,000 every 6 weeks to pay. So I had no voice. I had this who replaced me. And I just had to kind of scramble. And then they were doing everything they could to silence every move I would make. They would just follow me. The union, and I would be thinking, this is a $16 million, a $36 million union, and I'm one little person. And they're after me everywhere I would go. If I would go to WVON, they would go to WVON. If I went, they ran us out of Push. I started the meeting in Push before I know. Look today, where are they every 5 minutes? At Push. We were down there. And let me, Tyra Stamps, one who they had as commissioner, she decided that she wanted to fist fight with me. I went to a press conference. Mark Carter invited me. I didn't know what was going on. And when I went in the room, this is right before Brandon was elected. Brandon was in there. So I was taking, I was doing a live. I didn't know what was going on. So Tyra Stamps came over to me, and she was mad because Kernitha was with me. And I said, Kernitha, I haven't eaten. Let's get something to eat. So Tyra started foaming at the mouth, and they had to hold her back. And they were holding her back in a chair because she said I was eating their food. She said she got the nerve to talk. And I turned around and said, look, honey, let me explain this to you. I started this movement right here in this room that we're sitting in. That is why.
Marion Stamps' daughter?
Yes.
Some food?
Oh, honey, she wanted to fist fight. And I wanted to tell her because she thinks she's bad. She's from Cabrini. So I said, unfortunately, honey, I am too. So you don't scare me. I've seen all these booger bears all of my life. I grew up with them. So I know exactly how to handle you. And I just turned around And I said, I called the union. And I said, if she puts her hands on me, I will sue you for every penny you got.
Right.
And they told, whatever they did, they told her to calm down so they could make her commissioner. Yeah, I guess. Oh, don't worry about that. We'll just turn you into something you're not. We'll turn you into something respectable.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because she's commissioner now. She took Brandon's spot, right?
Oh yeah. So Brandon made her commissioner, but they were now. The problem is this. I didn't work there when Brandon worked there. I didn't work there when Stacy. Brandon and Stacy were hired by Jackson Potter on this picture. He's always in the background, but he runs everything. You see the little man in the back, the little white guy in the back.
Yeah.
That's who runs the city.
Jackson.
That's who runs Brandon. That's who runs Stacy. That's who runs the whole group.
Okay.
That's who's in charge.
That's who's in charge. That's the big dog.
That's who's in charge.
That's the big dog.
Yes. Remember when we were at the meeting? See, this is what the union did. So when Jackson took over, number one, they fired all the veteran teachers at the union too. So everybody at the union that was a real teacher that was making, because when they started, they said we will get paid our teacher salary. So I was a teacher with a master's, years of experience, and we had the other organizer. She had a GED. We were both doing this similar. So they kept coming to me saying, because they didn't want to pay either. Yeah, those two. But they didn't want to pay either. So they were picking people to work at the union who were novice teachers and community organized. So the girl that was working with me had on the west side, she had a GED. She didn't have a college degree. She was a school clerk. So they would come in and they wanted me to cut my salary by like 40 or 50,000 so I can match her salary. And I said, no, I'm not.
Well, how long was you a teacher by that time?
By that time, over 20 years.
Over 20 years, they want you to cut your salary in half.
And yeah, because she had a GED.
She
was the West Side coordinator. Because they started hiring people with like Brandon is trying to do now. They don't like these people don't like educated Black people.
Okay, because you have your PhD, right?
Right. And they don't like first of all, they can't control you. So they have to get somebody very needy to do. So they don't like people with educated Black people, the ones that they can't control. And they always, like Tara and several others, they always hire Black women that want to beat up other Black women. Like they did with Lori. Remember when Lori was, and they were all fighting with Lori, Jeanette Taylor, Tara, all of them were fighting with Lori. What's her name? The vice president, Stacy. Stacy was fighting with she was doing a lot of fighting. You remember that with Lori, all up in Lori's face? Because behind the scenes, no Black people run anything down there. Yeah, if you go to the House of Delegates, one of my teachers went down there. He said, there no Black people run nothing. But see, they're the Black faces to the public. Yeah, they don't run anything at the union. So they have all white liberals down there running everything. And the Black people are yes people.
Everything. Slaves.
Yes people. The Black people are yes people. They have to say yes. And, they're doing it for the money. I hope they sleep well at night. They will fight you. So what happens is that when they get into this position of authority, I've just never been one to sell out. I didn't take the Coon class. I have absolutely not. I just don't know how to keep my mouth closed and act like somebody that's subservient. And that's what I did a lot for the union, but I just felt I wanted to be treated like a human being. I just, all of this, shut up, if I would say something about the community I grew up, Jackson is in charge. He had to be the voice of everything. Oh, Jackson Potter, he controls everything. That's he used to come in the community.
His mother controlled the lawsuit.
Yes. Oh, that's okay. So what happened with the other lawsuit? So all of this time, because I kept pressuring them, what are you going to do about the black? They eventually filed a lawsuit. And now the teachers had been out, so they said, okay, we're going to file a lawsuit. Because I kept bringing, they had no intention of doing anything except selling them out. But they went ahead and filed it. And they lost, So when they found out that I was starting my lawsuit, they reopened their lawsuit. Somehow they were able to bring it back. And they were able to, and this is to silence these people. Now imagine this. You got fired in 2011, 2012. I think the lawsuit was settled in 2023 or 22. You have been out 10 years, 12 years, and you get a check for $5,000. At the most 12. You've been out. So that's the equivalent of maybe $500 a year. The most $1,000 a year.
Embarrassing.
Now, this is the woman that worked at CTU as the attorney, right? When you're filing on behalf of the union, you don't get paid because the union's already paid you to do this job.
Right.
Instead of filing under the union, she left, took these teachers' information, and filed through her own law firm. So now she gets 40% of the $9.5 million.
Yes, you got $3.9 million.
Huh?
You got $3.9 million, and the teachers $12,500.
Right. And see, this is the fight going on. See, the CTU finds Black women that will fight other Black women. They've come after me many times. They like Tara. They want a fist fight. And when they want to protect those white men down there, and they will physically try to jump on you. I passed out a flyer at the board meeting, and she looked at me and she said, "This is a lie," because I passed out one of my flyers. And I said, "Okay, well, if you don't believe it," and I went we were in the washroom. Do you know this woman? She was working for the union. She came to the stall and took her foot and tried to kick the door open. What? And then, when she did this, we're already at the board meeting. So I don't want to, act ignorant, because then, they'll be saying, "Oh, she's in there fighting." Wow. So, I explained to her. So, I dealt with it, and then I called security for her, because I didn't want to, be acting, because I wanted to tell her, "Honey, I wish we were not at this board meeting." Wow. But they will send them after you. These people will fit. One thing about Jeanette Taylor, though, she's never, even when I spoke that, she's never, I started with Jeanette. Jeanette was at the union when I was there. Her, G2 Brown, all these people were getting paid. They were on the payroll. All these are the union's community partners. So they were getting paid. And so later the union funded Jeanette, and then they that's how she became alderman. They funded her. And that's why the girl said that Stacy told her to shut up and told her that the only reason why you down here is because, because Jeanette was kind of speaking out against the union, and Stacy read her the riot act and told her to shut her mouth. Because the only reason you even are down here is because you rode in on Brandon Johnson's coattail. That's what she told Jeanette. So all of these people who took the money, and this is why Karen offered me money, I never took it, because I knew what that meant. I knew that I would have to be with them, that I would have to go lying and hiding and I just, that's not in my nature.
Right.
And I must say, it hasn't been easy doing what I do, because I do have a family, and thank God, like my daughter, I brought her, she's working on her doctorate, but it was really hard to bring my children when they were in college. All of this happened, and I was able to get my daughter through. One of my sons had to come. One of them is doing great. He's a manager. He's a tech person. But it was really difficult. They didn't care a thing about, the union didn't care. Karen knew my children. They all knew my children. They did not care about you, your family. They didn't care. These people don't care about you. That's why I'm like, when I say I thank Chicago Flips Red, and even though we're nonpartisan, I thank you because you're doing the right thing. And this is why Chicago will flip red. Because when we sit here, and we have been out here as teachers, what have we done? We haven't done anything but everything they asked us to. They asked us to get a bachelor's. We did that. They asked, I got 5 middle school endorsements. Every time they ask us, we do what we're supposed to do.
Well, like Miss Carol says, you wasn't an Uncle Tom.
I did.
Yeah, you had to be a coon, and you opted out of the coon.
Right. And
thank you for that.
I grew up loving Malcolm X, loving the Black Power movement. And my sisters all laugh because I've been doing the Black Power stuff since I was a teenager. I've always been an activist, so I turned my activism inward when I started teaching. And there were some things, that's Jackson Potter. I have at least 200 emails from this man before they won, begging me, Rosita, can you do this? Rosita, go over here. Rosita, can you? He just constantly asked me, and I wasn't working at that time. I did so much free, never charged him a penny. I never asked them for a penny. And I did all kinds of things for them. They would have never won if it hadn't been for a couple people, and I was one of those. I was the one who got out in the cold and sold the teachers to Karen, to the teacher. Those teachers were like, Karen, first of all, they didn't like her because of her weight. They didn't think that she had the right image. I was in there like, no, you can't judge a person by the way they look. She's intelligent. I mean, I really fought for Karen in the schools that I worked at for her to get elected. They would have never gotten elected in that beginning if it hadn't been for me and a couple other people. And the thanks I got for that was one big knife in the back. When Karen, because see, Karen didn't respect. Her thing was, you're okay if you are a career service aide. But you Black women that think
what's
you
a career service aide?
Like a clerk in the building. I remember they said, Rosita, go bring us some teachers to speak at the. So you know me, I'm going to bring the best. I'm going to go in. The teachers that I brought, they were polished. They spoke well. And I took them. They said, this Noreen Gudikons, is she up there? They said, oh, that's not the kind. And I said, what? So I go back and get somebody. Rosita, those are not the kind of people we're looking for. And I'm constantly thinking, well, what is the kind? And so I'm trying to find out what the kind is.
Right.
We go to this school, and there's this teacher who acts and looks more like a janitor in the building. And she's the delegate at the school. And this is how she presented herself. She came down. I was with Jackson and Noreen. And I had my flyers, and we were doing for the school. And I handed her, and she looked at Jackson, and just like this, she said, Jackson, thank you. I will take these up to the classroom, give it to the kids, and take it to the crib. And I'm like, huh? Do you know the next week she was on the cover of the Union paper?
What?
And I thought, wow. See, what they were doing was sending a subliminal message to their community. Like, this is what the Black teacher is like. I was bringing people who were articulate, who were clean. And I'm not going to say this, but you saw what some people look like in the beginning.
Right.
You saw that picture. Yeah, those are the kind of, you had, if they wanted somebody with their hair standing all over their head, or that couldn't speak well, or that had a little food stains on their shirt when they look. And I was bringing polished Black, make us look good and intelligent. Right. They put that woman on the cover of the magazine. I still have that magazine. And God bless her soul. She has passed since then. But but what they were saying to her, they were saying to the community, they were saying, this is what the Black teacher is like. This is, ignorant, illiterate. Now, white teachers.
CTU funds these aldermen. Jeanette Taylor, given $139,000. Brian Centro Lopez, $107,000. Rosanna Rodriguez, $96,000. Carlos Rosa, he's now the Park District commissioner, head of Park District, $76,000. Desmond Yancey, $75,000. William Hall, $62,000. Angela Clay, $60,000. David Moore, $31,000. Ronnie Mosley, $30,000. Nicholas Posado, $27,000. Daniel Laspada, $27,000. Maria Haddon, $23,000. Scott Wegerspec, $22,000. Andre Vasquez, $19,000, and Matt Martin, $15,000.
And if you, and these are the people you should never vote for. These are the people that don't deserve your vote. These are the people that are going to side with CTU no matter what. And CTU has turned its back on its own teachers. The poor teachers, they pay into the union, but, and this is what they did at the union. They started bringing community, when the Chicago Teachers Union always had veteran teachers who worked for the union. Okay. They fired all of them. And they started bringing in community people like Matthew Luskin. He was head of American Working Family. He worked down there. He had a high school diploma. He worked for Action Now. See, this is the direction they're going in. They hate educated Black folk.
Yeah.
That's why the new mayor is talking about you don't have to have a degree to. These are the kind of Black people they like. They like these kind. If you look any other way, you have to be a sellout. And if you do not let this man in the back break you, or what they say, buck break you, you will not go anywhere with that. The people who own this caucus is Jackson Potter and Karen Lewis. They're the owners of the core caucus. When Karen died, Jackson is the sole owner of the caucus. He hired all of these people. He was the chief of staff and the owner of the caucus. Now, Jackson was supposed to be the vice president in the beginning, but he didn't have a teaching license. He wasn't a teacher. He had left. So when he tried to run, his mother even filed a lawsuit. Can you imagine this? His mother filed a lawsuit to make the union president let him run against her when he wasn't even a union member. What? So Marilyn Stewart was like, no, I am not going to let you run against me. You're not even a union member.
Right.
So why would I allow you to run again. This is how crazy it gets. So this is kind of, what went on with these people. And if you're not cooning, if you're not, you cannot be there.
You cannot be.
No. You have got to bow down to this man here. And he's really a very mean and evil person.
Yeah, he looks
because he's a user. And I can prove that because I've got over 100 emails from him begging me to do this, begging me to do that. All the help I did for them, I raised money for them, I did this. And as soon as I got in, he stabbed me in the back. And that was just sheer, high. I'll tell you what, one day, because at this point, he said to me, I went to speak at the board meeting, and this is the part that really gets me. How I wasn't aware in the beginning that they wanted the Black teachers fired.
right.
So I had 4 schools. Now, the girl that's supposed to work on the west side, she never did anything. And we would be in the meeting, and they would say, Crystal, what plans do you have? And she would buck her eyes like the Django. And she would say, like, no, Stephen. And she would say, I can't do nothing on the west side. That's a wasteland over there. And she would be making, and then I would be sitting there like, well, if you can't do anything, why are you working here? So when they would say, Rosita, what do you, I would say, okay, I have a plan. We're going to meet with the teachers. We're going to do this. But they always seem unhappy about what I had. So one day they said, Rosita, we're going to give you, you're going to take these schools on the west side. And I said, okay. So I had Bidler, Tilton, and Marconi and Boucher because Crystal had to go on vacation every 5 minutes. So I had to do her school. So I go on the west side, and I'm with Denise Little, and I go to take Denise the data because I've been accumulating all this data all these years since I worked at Williams. So I said, Denise, she was the area person. And I said, look, you need to really look into this because all they're doing is firing Black people. Denise, I showed her the data, Denise Little. And she looked at the data and she said, Rosita, I don't think we're going to do this. She said, I don't think we're going to close these schools. Now I said, oh, so I talked to Denise. Then I came back on the south side and I talked to Bob Runcie. And I said, Bob, I know you want to close Boucher, but you really shouldn't. I said, because there's nothing wrong with those veteran teachers. They might need a little bit more training. I said, why don't you make Boucher a feeder school for South Shore International? And so he was like, he went to Harvard or Yale. So he's a nice guy, but he kind of like, oh, these teachers don't know what they're doing. And I looked at him and I said, Bob, they will fire you too.
Wow.
And he looked. About 3 weeks later, he calls me at the union and he says, Rosita, you were right. And I said, what? Because he was supposed to take Brazard's place. He said, they fired me. And he said, before I leave, I'm going to keep this school open. I'm going to keep 70%. And I'm all excited. Yes, you're not going to fire the teachers. So I sent an email through the CTU, congratulations. The 3 schools are not going to close. This one, Jackson Potter walks up in my office, him and this little. They asked me, who do you think you are? And I said, what? And they said, you're nobody's savior. Oh. So that's what the response was, because I saved the 4 schools. Though, if you look, those schools did not close that year.
I said Herzl. Yes, I'm listening. Sorry, my
mom.
They
didn't close that year. So they were mad with me. I thought they were going to be happy. They were angry with me. And I thought to myself, oh my God, they want these schools closed. So Brandon actually worked at the schools. He didn't keep any open. After I left, those schools closed. That's exactly what they wanted. They wanted them closed. So they closed. I'm not sure who this person is on the screen, but they ended up closing. So, I mean, this is a lot of history. It's all in the book. That book, it's all in the book.
Is this Denise Little?
Yes, that's Denise. Okay, I didn't recognize her. That's Denise Little. And she was the AIO. And she was the one who kept Biden, Tilton, and Marconi open. After she looked at the data, she said, Rosita, I've never seen this. But she said, I'm going to have to look at this. So what it taught me was nobody was going to CPS asking for anything. If I could go, and I'm not even the union president, and sit down and negotiate 3 schools to stay open, I said, nobody's even meeting with CPS, asking them anything.
Right.
And then I came and I met with Bob, and Bob show Bob's picture, Bob Runcie. He went to Florida. He left here. He's retired, I think, now. But he was the one who kept Boucher open. And he said, we're not going to fire. He said, Rosita, I'm going to keep 70% of the teachers. Robert Runcie, RUNCIE. He said, I'm going to keep this. And I thought I was doing the right thing. And then they called me into a meeting. And I'm thinking like, okay, am I going to get a promotion? They called me into the meeting, and Jackson stood over me and wanted Karen to fire me that day.
Fire you that day?
Because it was the day before Christmas Eve, and I never will forget it.
What?
They came into my office, and they were just like, because I kept the schools open. And I'm thinking I'm doing a good thing. And Jackson came and he said, you're going to stay here. He said, that's it. Karen was in Springfield. Imagine this. We're in the merchandise mart. The whole building is shut down at 12 because it's Christmas Eve, day before Christmas Eve. And so Jackson told me that if I left, I would be charged with insubordination. So I was in merchandise march waiting for Karen to come back so I could be fired. Karen came in, and Karen was, they came in, but the reason why Karen wouldn't do it was because she needed help with the Senate stuff. And I had some friends in Springfield that were helping her with that Senate Bill 7 mess that got started. But they called me in the meeting, and Jackson was trying to pretend like I was doing something. And Karen kept saying, well, I don't know what she's doing. What did she do wrong? What was he going to say? Oh, she kept those schools open. She couldn't say that. And he was fishing. And this crazy guy, Michael Brunson, was the recording secretary. He was another Stephen. And and what really made me so upset was Michael jumped out of the chair. Now I'm thinking me and Michael are cool because we've been working together. We've been canvassing schools together. We've been to work the whole election. And he jumped up out that chair when Jackson said something to me and put his hand in my feet. He said, you better do what he said. And I'm sitting there like, what? And he turned into like a gang boss while I'm sitting there. He was pointing his finger, and Jackson was standing in the background looking like, yeah, And I'm thinking, like, what is going on around here? But when Karen came in, she was like, no, I don't think we should fire her. Fire me for what? For keeping 4 schools open? So I stayed around, but then I knew what time it was because they had let the cow out the barn. And then they started like attacking, like my meetings at Push. They said, Rosita, we want you to stop meeting at Push. And I said, I meet at Push at 6:00. I was meeting at Push before I met you all. I said, why do I have to stop meeting at Push? Everything you own belongs to the union. That's what Noreen. And I said, no. I said, those are my meetings that have nothing to do with the union. And those are, so they ended up, of course, when they got my, when they didn't want to renew my contract, but I knew it was coming.
Is that Robert? Or one of these guys?
No, Robert is a black, Robert Runcie, or Bob Runcie, Runcie.
All right, let me look again because I don't think I know. I'm trying to find some pictures of him.
Yeah, because he was in Florida. He left here and went to Florida as the CEO. He was CEO of Florida schools in what county, I believe. Yes. So his name is, and but he was the one who saved Boucher. And he said, I got just, it says superintendent of Broward County Public School. Google his name will come right up. I don't know why I'm getting stuck on it. But
ROBERT RUCINSKI.
Robert Runcie, RUNCIE.
Oh, that's on. Okay. Got it.
Yes. Yes.
Got it. Oh, you black guy.
Yes. Yes. So, yeah. Yes.
Yeah, he's coming up now. It's a little slow, but it's coming.
So I'm thinking of which one. Okay. So I'm not sure of what's going on, but I think something is kind of frozen.
All right.
Okay, what about this? Is this better?
Oh no, I got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm just trying to a couple of questions.
Okay. Great.
Someone wanted me to ask you. Zoe asked Dr. Rosita about Rhymefest. Yeah.
Well,
clown with a school position, but do you have anything about Rhymefest? Or
well, first of all, I met Rhymefest when I was working at CTU because Rhymefest ran for alderman. He ran for alderman in the 20th ward where Jeanette Taylor is, because the union's been trying to get someone. But I was assigned to Rhymefest, and the interesting thing about that, I worked with Rhymefest on his campaign for alderman. And we were like, I went back to the union and I said, look, this guy could win. I said, all we need to do is push a little bit more. And when I said that, the next day they took me off the campaign. And I'm like, well, why would they do that? Because I just told you that he's about to win. Rhymefest lost by a couple of hundred votes that I knew he could have won if they had kept us on the campaign. So I'm thinking, see, they really slick. They didn't want him to win.
Right.
And see, they do stuff like that. They'll fund you and they'll hire you and they'll pay you just to defeat you. So I said they really didn't want him to win. But they funded him and they put me on and as soon as they thought he was gonna win, they pulled me and told me to go somewhere else. Yeah, that's Bob Runcie there. And so Rhymefest then later when he's running, now I'm gonna say this. First of all, see, people say things. When Rhymefest wanted to run for elected school board, they did some dirty stuff. Rhymefest and the little guy, Adam, neither one of them had their signatures. They did not have 3,000 signatures. They both ganged up and they challenged my signatures. But they made a deal with each other. Hey, you don't challenge me and I won't challenge you. We'll both challenge Rosita, which meant that I had to hire someone and pay them thousands of dollars to go through this stuff. And of course, we weren't funded by anyone but the community. And so that's what Rhymefest did. And then he promised that he would work with us, would cause Rhymefest and I threw my support behind him. I told people I'm a write-in. If you can't spell, go ahead and vote for Rhymefest, because the person I wanted to defeat was that silly pastor that CTU had. CTU put this silly man out here who was a pastor that didn't know anything about anything, but later found out that Rhymefest, he has a doctorate they gave him, but he doesn't even have a high school diploma. So I don't know why you would even want to be in this space.
Damn.
I mean, you want to be in charge. I just don't understand these people. They want to be in charge of something that they know nothing
he had
about.
a high school degree, but he got an honorary doctor's.
Yes, he got something from somewhere, and they need to stop giving these stupid honorary doctorates to these people, because we have to. I had to work for mine, and I don't think it's fair that you just get this. You're not supposed to use them off campus, but of course they're using them, pretending like they have doctorates, and you don't even have a high school diploma. You're a high school dropout, but that's okay with me. But why should you be in charge of education? The only thing you have done is sing a song. And Rhymefest didn't know this, but on the way home, I'm a songwriter. I have songs on Amazon. And I let him listen. And he said, "You wrote that?" And I said, "Yeah, I wrote the music, all the music and the words." I wanted to say, that's what you can do when you go to school. You learn things. Because the rap you did, it took 4 of you guys to put it together. Okay, it's a beautiful song. I don't know if you're on the credit, but what has this got to do with the children? Being in charge of their education. Right. If I had gone there, you would have seen some critical things on behalf of our children. That's why I wrote the literacy gap. Because what I wanted to do was go there and fix things. Right. And let people know how we can fix things for Black children, how they're being denied, how I've worked with them. I know what works for them. But I can't do that because Rhymefest, the rapper, is sitting there in the spot, blocking everybody that means any good. I was one of the people that got the elected school board. I was the one out there we didn't have an elected school board. I was on the committee to get the elect, but I can't be on because number one, the union, for whatever reason, has decided that they want to attack me. I've never done anything to these people but help them. And that's all they have done for the last 15 years is do dirty things, bring and see Stacy and them, they weren't even around when we were in the street in the cold getting Karen elected. Brandon was nowhere to be found. They don't even know the history. They benefited from everything we did, but they weren't even around. They're just
They
listening.
didn't get it from the mud.
Huh?
They didn't get it from the mud. Oh,
No.
somebody posted about Dr. Robert Runcie. I guess
Right.
he had some perjury charges, but they were dropped. So just
Mhm.
y'all know that they were dropped.
Yes. Yes. He had some. I think he left Florida. I'm pretty sure he's retired now.
Yeah, but somebody had brought that up, but yeah, I forgot to bring up that they were dropped too. Perjury
Right.
charges.
Yeah. They were dropped, and all I care about is his work here. He listened, because like the union doesn't listen to me. The union doesn't listen to us.
Oh no.
Nobody. So I got someone who I went to. I laid out the case, and he said, Rosita, you're making sense. I will not fire all of these people. I
Right.
will keep their jobs open. I know, being a parent, and you need your livelihood. They have taken from us being on a do not hire list for something you never did. I understand people who have been accused and have to go to prison because we're in a prison.
Right.
We can't work with our student. And when I did run a program out of CVS High School up until 2020. But every step of the way, we got money for the program. We and that's Arne Duncan, who had a bachelor's in sociology, was 20 something years old, and was running around the nation firing every black PhD he could. After he left Chicago, but closed 100 schools, fired all these people. Look at this man. He doesn't even look like he has any sense. And he had the power. Now here he is with a bachelor's in sociology, never taught a day in his life. He's head honcho. And this is our problem in education. All these non-educators that come into the profession and want to lord over people and fire people who've done all the work and who have done all the schooling, and you've done none of it. Why would you?
What was Arne Duncan? He was
here with Obama. He played basketball with Obama, so he became the chief. Now imagine this: he wasn't qualified to be the CEO of Chicago Public School. He's now but now he's the CEO of all the schools in the nation. So what he did in Chicago was fire black teachers. So what did he do nationwide? Fire black teachers. When we had Katrina, he Googled this. He said Katrina was the best thing that could happen. The reason why he said
Katrina?
Yes. The reason, because when they had, you know why he said that? Because what he wanted to do was wipe out the whole system. And Mother Nature had wiped out the system. So in New Orleans, he didn't have to fire all the teachers. Katrina washed out the schools. So 8,000 black teachers got fired. And remember when the things happened up on the East Coast, when the schools, were under flood, the white teachers didn't get fired. When Katrina, when all that happened in Katrina, those teachers never got their jobs back. They just were fired. So 7,000 or 8,000 black teachers, and he said that was the best thing that could happen. Okay. Not mentioning dead bodies floating by the river, it's the best thing for us. And under that, nobody made him apologize. Nobody. He just went on like he never said it. If you Google it, you'll see it. Everybody Google it. There's a whole article. No, it didn't make a difference because they have white privilege. And they can say or do anything to us. And it's just fine. It's just fine with them. And so this is what, now you see that the pressure that you are, when you come out and you have these situations where you're fighting against these people. They have power. And some of these people are very evil. And they for some reason, if you don't bow down, and what are you bowing down to? Their agenda. They got issues. You better lockstep and do what you're told, but you get nothing for it. Yeah. I mean, I voted for the Democratic Party my entire life.
Entire life.
Never voted a Republican. I couldn't go to one of them and get an interview or anything. They would not do it. They would not do it.
Katrina was good for New Orleans schools.
Yeah. That's what it says.
Education Secretary Arne Duncan says Sunday, and that was January 31st, 2010, that 2005's Hurricane Katrina was the best thing that happened to the education system in New Orleans.
Because they were about purging Black teachers. That was the agenda nationwide. And the Atlanta teachers, now this is what happened. When Arne Duncan went over, he had ran 2010, which I talked about what happened here in Chicago. He started Race to the Top. When he started Race to the Top, when he started the Race to the Top thing, Race to the Top and ran 2010 was basically the same thing. Race to the Top was the national education agenda. Ren 2010 was here in Chicago. So whatever happened here in Chicago, they packed it up and they packaged it and they made it happen nationwide in different Black school districts. So all over the country, in Washington, D.C., and in New Orleans, in Detroit, and they were doing the same thing they had in Chicago. They were just purging. So they had a contest, and this is all Race to the Top. And they said anyone that does well on this contest has any person that does really well and the scores in your school go up, guess what? You will be rewarded with a payout, some couple of $1,000. Well, Atlanta teachers won. And they said that they cheated on the test. So they said Atlanta cheating scandal. So they had all of these Black teachers in Atlanta, principals, so they brought them up on charges. Now, everybody knows cheating on a test isn't a crime, right? Most people get fired if they're caught cheating. Well, they decided, Fanny Willis, the one that went after Trump and was trying to do RICO, well, she decided that she was going to make a name by, now she's a Black woman. I think she's an AKA.
Yeah,
and she's in a racist state called Georgia.
She's in Chicago today. She has a fundraiser begging for money.
Fanny Willis?
Yes.
Okay, so Fanny Willis decided that to make a name for herself, now she's instead of going to get all the racist stuff that goes on in Georgia, instead of taking her stuff to deal with some real racism that Black people are facing, she decided that she's going to incarcerate the Atlanta teachers for cheating on the test. So she charges them with RICO. And she tries these people. And the ones that did not say they cheated on a test, she ended up charging them, and they lost, and some of them got sentences up to 14 years under the RICO, because she said this is her first RICO case, and she said she would. They love these people, these Black Boule people, and when you bring them up and say, "Look, here's somebody that did this to Black educated people," she destroyed their lives. She put them in jail. She made up a charge, because cheating on the test isn't a charge. It isn't a crime, but you turned it into a crime saying it was organized crime because the teachers got a small bonus if their school district did well. So those teachers went to jail. Their lives were ruined. And then the next person she decided she was going to take on were the rappers. Wow. So she went after the little young black rappers, and she was bringing them up on RICO. Yeah. And in between, she said, well, I'll go after President Trump too. And when she did, I was like, well, where's my popcorn? Because she sent those black teachers to jail. It's going to be a whole different party when it comes to Trump. And it was. And so she was just completely dragged through the mud when she tried to do what she did. And see, these are the kind of black people the Black Boule likes, because they don't care anything about the black women, their children, the educators. You know, they're like big bullies. They're all in one big old club. And if you're not in it, and that's one of the other things we deal with the public school system, is the Black Greeks. They're no different from the Black Keystone Nation. When you're in the schools, they're all together. You know, they are working. And here's the thing, they don't ever mess with white people. A white teacher asked me, she said, what is going on? Why are these black women always attacking these other black women? She said they never bother white people. They never bother Mexicans. They never bother Asians. When they're in the school, their target is another black woman. Yeah, those are the Atlanta teachers. That one went to jail. I don't know how long, 14 years. And that's one thing that I don't know if they're still there. I know President Trump had, I think, pardoned one or two of them. But this lady went to jail for cheating on a test. This is what it looked like.
So President Trump pardoned some of the Atlanta black teachers, but they don't talk about that either. They don't talk about
he pardoned one teacher with the scandal, but yeah, we needs to pardon them all, really.
Yeah, I'm just saying, but he pardoned some, and
here's the thing, some of these teachers had just started teaching, and all they were doing was what the administration told them to do. They didn't know, you go to a job, and they said, well, this is how we do, and then they got brought up on charges and sent to jail. Some of them got 7 years. The maximum, I think, was 14 years. But of course, their teaching careers were ruined by this.
I don't think a lot of people need to bring up that Fanny Willis went after these teachers like this.
Yeah, she was the prosecutor.
Yeah, there you go right there. That's young Fanny.
Yeah, she was the prosecutor.
Yeah.
And she wanted to make a name just like Kamala Harris. When they want to do something and make a name, they go after black people.
They go after black people.
They go after black people with these sororities. They're cowards. Yeah. That's why, well, first of all, you have to be a coward to join, because you can't stand on your own 2 feet. You got to get a gang of people behind you. And most of the people, the teachers that survive the whole thing, they're most of them. I have some of them in cause. And one of my cause members, she's an AKA, and she said, well, they never did anything to help her. And I said, but they never bothered you because you're an AKA. They bothered everybody else. Those black AKA principals, they bothered the other black people. They were after them. They didn't bother the white people. They didn't bother the Hispanic. And even the people of other races were like, what is going on? Why are these people attacking these black women?
Right.
Well, they're not in their little Greek, whatever it is. And so that's why they're being attacked.
Yeah, I'm constantly protesting in front of the AKA building. Just let them know, what are y'all doing? Because y'all don't do anything.
They have their little clique, and it's when you go into education and you're black, you if you're not with one of their groups, you're in trouble. If you, especially in the school, they have taken over the school all over the country.
All over the country.
All over the country. If you go in all over these black schools.
She's here. She was here today.
Should have had some eggs
for the Voice of Justice reception. She's trying to raise money for her defense because Trump is trying to throw everything on her like she did him and some other people.
Well, like she did with the teachers.
Yes, like she did with
she run their lives.
Yeah.
She's a mess.
You're up next, Fanny.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know a lot of this stuff because I follow it and I know who's doing what to the black community. But we've got some real issues. And at this point,
right,
and I tell people, young people, don't go into this profession unless somebody fix it. And we're trying to fix it. So it's decent enough for us to get. I would just not let any of my people into it. The profession is so horrible at this point. And you've got nothing but non-educators leading it. So let them have it. Don't waste your time because you're not going to survive. If you're not in one of those cliques, this is something you don't want to waste your time doing.
Do you know about the Kenwood principal?
Which one?
I think the newest principal. Let me see what her name is.
My children all went to Kenwood, but they've been out a while.
I don't know if this is the new one. So many of them. How many of them? In Kenwood Princess, like a million of them. It might be. Is it Camellia? Anybody know her name?
The lady. I did. She was the counselor at one point. What's her name? Camille.
If it's the one from 2023,
what's her name?
Karen Calloway.
Yeah, that she was a counselor there when my kids were there.
Okay.
Is she the principal now still?
I think she is.
Miss Calloway, principal and I was asking my daughter at Kenwood. Yeah, she was a counselor there when my kids were there.
Okay.
And then Miss Kirby was the principal. I don't know what happened. And that's another thing. This is why CPS can't be fixed because how many CEOs have we had since I've been there? Probably about 15 or 20. And it's like one every other year. And that's what happens with the principals too. Nobody can stay in the system long enough. People are just as musical chairs. They're just running in and running out. Hold on. Jessica, can you hand me the Literacy Gap book? They're running in and they're running out.
Yeah.
That's all they do. Because nobody stays. I mean, lawyers don't stay. No one stays at CPS. You can't stay at CPS. It's so broken. Everybody's afraid.
New one. This might be the new teacher, right? I mean, new one, right? Wait, what is this? No, this is school council. No, this is something else. So yeah, local school, Dr. Michelle Hoy Watkins. She is the academic center. Yeah, they got a whole bunch of things. So yeah. But they're all
people can stay a couple of years, but it's not like schools used to be, where you would be the principal for a few years. When you became principal, you were principal for a few years. It wasn't like you're principal for 1 year. When you took on the schools, people used to stay in that school for 20 years. Nothing. Really, you can't get anything done in less than 5 years. Nobody even stays around that long.
So what do you think the solution is?
Well, CPS, first of all, you got to get non-educators out of the system.
Okay.
They should not be leading anything. This is serious business, and you need people with experience running the show. Nobody wants to, say, for instance, why would I go to school and get a doctorate for somebody with a high school diploma to be my boss?
Right.
As somebody that doesn't know anything about the field either. So this is what they're moving to the city. That is what Mayor Johnson was saying about experience. You don't need anything. And maybe he's saying that because he didn't have anything.
Yeah, he didn't have any experience.
Yeah, he didn't have experience. So maybe he thinks
Was he?
I didn't have any experience, and maybe nobody needs it.
How long was he a teacher for?
I think less than 4 years. He was a teacher at Jenner School for 3 years, and I suspect he was non-renewed there because the way it works, if you're at a school for 3 years, if you swipe in the 4th year, you get tenure. Sometimes when principals don't want you to get tenure in their building, they swipe you out at 3 years and non-renew you. Now, if you get non-renewed twice, you would be on the do not hire list. So he left there and went to Westinghouse. And then there was a guy named Joey McDermott that met him. I don't know if he was having problems with the principal, but he was at Westinghouse for less than a year. And that's when they pulled him and took him to the union and said, and that's, you saw the picture here. So they pulled him and took him to the union.
And then went from the union to commissioner. Well, he was still with the union, but at commissioner. Then he is now the mayor.
Yeah, he was working at the union and getting commissioner at the same time. So, that is, if you can do all of that, God bless you. Nobody's hating on him. But what we just want is to be treated fairly too. We're not being treated fairly.
Have you talked to him or have you reached out to him about
I've reached out to him several times. He used to answer back when I first, because I showed you, didn't I show you the comments that he made on Facebook?
Yes.
Yeah, that, we he made those comments to me regarding how he respected me, how he could never take my place. And we had I had no bad feelings for him. I always wished him well as a Black man. I have 3 sons. So for me, I always am excited about Black males, doing well. I really, had no problems with Brandon Johnson. I just wished him well as a mayor, but the problem is I guess everybody is pulling on him. We did send him the letter. I have reached out to him multiple times before that. So, we had, I just haven't heard anything. And that's what we're trying to do.
So what? So
somebody talked about Dr. Barbara Sizemore on here, and the correctional office, Dr. Barbara Sizemore. We should have, when you asked what should be done, we should have followed Dr. Barbara Sizemore's skills-based education for inner city children. Dr. Barbara Sizemore had a plan, and she got it right, but when they started getting non-educators out, they got rid. I remember I used Dr. Barbara Sizemore's model, and it worked like a charm. She taught skills-based education to children that had no skill. So how everything fell apart was that everything fell apart because in the late 90s, Mayor Daley decided that the schools were going to be ran as a business. So he got Paul Vallis and non-educators to run it. Meanwhile, they removed all the literacy supports in the late 90s. They removed them. And so the literacy supports had to do with I got rid of spelling, penmanship, and certain aspects of grammar and phonics because the children won't need to learn how to spell. This is a business. So the computer will spell check, right? This is what happened in the late 90s. Get rid of all the spelling books. Don't teach penmanship. We don't need grammar either. The computer is the teach. The computer will do all of this. So the children don't need to know how to. This is the logic of non-educated. And they were empowered. So that's why we have the crises we have today. They got rid of all the Black educators' experience because they didn't want to pay. Then they removed the literacy supports.
This is Dr. Sizemore?
Yes. And they removed the literacy supports from all of the students. I was graduating seniors who couldn't sign their name. They were writing little X's. I mean, I have people that can't spell. Now the computers were going to do all this, right? In the early of 2000, when all this happened, late 90s. 20 years later, when we had a pandemic, remember, the kids didn't have computers. They had to be given. So all these 20 years that this computer was going to be doing all of this stuff, teaching spelling, nobody had computers.
Right.
So this was a travesty. And it is why we are where we are today, listening to people that don't care anything. Listening to people that don't care anything about the and don't understand. You just can't drop a bomb on public education. It is an institution. That's how we learned how to read, write, spell. It's been proven. You got rid of it. And now you want to wonder why 85% of the children are failing. They need skills, and that's what Dr. Barbara Sizemore talked about. That's what Dr. Barbara Sizemore talked about. I was looking at some of that.
So she has a good, so people should follow what she was trying to do and probably mix it in with
skill space. I use it. It works like a charm. Along with what we talk about with the literacy, in the literacy gap, we talk about putting Black children, and think about this, and this is why I wrote the literacy gap, because there's some things that happen. Number one, when I was in Mississippi and I was grading, because I left to go teach in Mississippi, I was so sick of this place. And so when I got down there, of course, there was an AKA principal. She's 28 years old, didn't know anything. So I got to Mississippi, same old mess, all over the country. So I go down there, and here she is. And they were like, in Mississippi, they wanted to only teach reading and math. Now, I am a math science person. So, and I got a social studies, endorsement. So when the tests are made, but these silly people, principals that never taught, don't know that when you're given a standardized test, they ask you to read about science and social studies. I've never seen them ask you to read about, they said geothermal energy, the rainforest. If you look at any standardized test, the reading portion is in social studies and science. So I'm in the classroom and I'm getting ready to give a social studies test, and nobody knows what an equator is. Nobody knows what the sun, North Hemisphere is. Nobody knows how seasons are made. Nobody knows anything. So I'm in the classroom and I'm teaching. And so the little silly principal comes in and says, I heard you were teaching social studies and science. So I'm like, yeah, because she's supposed to teach the 4 content areas. I said, isn't this an elementary school? And I said, well, aren't you supposed to teach the 4 content areas of instruction, which is reading, math, social studies, and science?
Right.
We're in competition. This is how she's talking. We're in competition with school districts all over this area, and for math and reading, and we don't have time to teach social studies and science. But anyway, and I'm like, okay, well, what do I do for grade? She told me just make up anything. I'm thinking like, this is not legal. Sit there and make up something. I have to have proof of the grades I give. I can't just stick a grade on it, silly woman. But anyway, I mean, this is what you got to deal with these poops. So then you say, so I'm looking at her and she said, what is your problem? Are you saying you can't do that? Typical AKA fashion. And I'm looking at her and I said, no. I'm not saying that. That's what you're saying. I wanted to add a little B on the end, what I'm saying. So I'm like, no, that's what you're saying. Well, at this point, I know we're getting ready to humble, because, I haven't bowed down. So I'm doing my grades. And I go through my grades, and I'm doing, because I'm getting ready to leave. So I'm giving my last grades out. They don't know about this. And so as I'm doing the grades, they say, stop. You've got to give all of them at least a pass. And now these were all Hispanic children that couldn't speak English. And I said, well, they don't speak English. They said, but you got to give them a C. Make sure you give them an A or a B because, we don't want no trouble. And I said, but they don't even speak English. They don't understand a word I'm saying. And they said, well, that's okay. It's legal. That's what you got. So I was like, it's legal? And they say, yeah, you have to give them all A's and B's. And I'm like, So I started erasing the grades, and I get to the black kid, and they said, stop. And I said, what do you mean stop? And they said, he's black. You could fail him. And I'm thinking like, are you losing your mind? So I'm erasing the. I'm like, oh, okay. So you think that I'm gonna sit up in here and get all these people that can't speak English or A or B, and you think I'm going to fail this black kid that at least understands what I'm saying? Yeah, lost your cotton picking mind. That's what I'm thinking. And so, I'm like, that stuck with me. And then I began to reflect on Chicago questions that I had. Like I'm teaching 7th grade, and every year I've got to move a 7th grader who is too old to go to the, he got to get up out of here because he's too old for elementary school. Now he's failed 3 times. And then I reflect. So Jaquan, now I got to pass these people, these immigrant children who don't speak English. But Jaquan over here has failed 3 times. He's going to be 16 when he enters high school. I was 16 when I was a senior in high school. So now this is a future the high school dropout. He's not going to want to sit up in the classroom with these 13-year-olds when he's 16 going on 17 as a freshman. So I'm thinking about all this. And then I went back about the time I worked at Williams, and the 8th grades came out, the test scores came back. And we had a student that literally got up on top of the 3rd floor banister and said she was going to jump. And I'm like, what is going on? She had failed 3 times. And she said, now, what happens with the Bilingual Education Act while all these black people are talking about how wonderful the Hispanic immigrant children are doing? They didn't even test these kids. They were testing the top 10% of their population. They also You cannot fail them if they don't ever speak English to you. If they fail every test, so they don't have the trauma of failure. So they're walking around thinking they're the smartest kid in the world. Jaquan's over here thinking he's a total failure because he doesn't have that protection. The only way Jaquan can get help is the mom has to say he's special ed. So she's got to declare to get the same kind of help that the immigrants are getting, and there's no label on them, no nothing. So I said, why can't we add Black children to the Bilingual Education Act? Since African American Vernacular English, Ebonics, was declared a language to itself. So when the bill was passed, Black children should have always been able to take advantage. That is my argument with the literacy gap. Why? There's a letter in there saying, put our children, give our children the same opportunity that you're giving the children. And here it is. It's not just Black kids. It's all American kids.
All American kids.
All American, because there are poor white kids. There are poor other American kids that are being failed and broken by this system while immigrants come in and get a clean slate.
Yes.
So this we should be pushing for our children, because we literally have let them down by not, and I admire what the Hispanics and the immigrant, because they used our civil rights legislation to pass the Bilingual Education Act. Every civil rights legislation we've had, Brown, not after Brown versus the board, Plessy versus Ferguson. All of these cases were used. What happened in Ann Arbor? All of these cases were used to make the case that their children needed additional literacy support. Why are we not making the case that our children need additional literacy support?
Because we got all the Divine Nine worried about everything else but our kids. We got all of the elite in the boule caring about everything else but our kids. We've got all of the Democratic baby coons, because now they're baby coons because the old coons is dying out. Dumb. We're dealing with what my group of adults that are my age, a little bit younger, a little bit older. They are the popular elite dummies, and they believe just because they go to a HBCU or go to a PWI or PIW, or private white institute or whatever, or they are in a sorority or fraternity, they think they have made it, and as long as they continue to, vote one way, and that's just it. But they don't care about our children not learning. Everybody else is learning but our children. And if we talk about it,
right,
people that ignore it, or you have people that ignore the real issue but use them like CTU to get more money to stay in power, but they don't care about these children passing, because if they did, they would have you and other teachers as even as if you don't want to teach anymore in the schools, you should at least be able to be mediators at this time, mentors.
Right. But they don't want, because see their role, like for instance, when we ran for elected school board, there were 4 educators, CTU members, former members running, but the CTU did not support any of them. They supported all the high school dropouts running against these people who didn't know anything. They thought, this is a person I can control. I can control the high school dropout. I can control Rosita. I can't control, even though I know they are educators and they're going to go in there and they're going to be an advocate for the children. We don't care about that.
Right.
We don't care about them being an advocate. All we care about at this point is us getting, all they care about is them getting control and them having power. And that is what this has all been about.
Right.
So I'm hoping that we can come back and
Yeah,
it's
we definitely need
right.
to do this at least once a month because and I want to ask you one more question before I want to ask two questions about your books, but one more question before what do you think about homeschooling? What do you think about getting some teachers together and putting because a lot of people are um taking their kids out of school just
And they should.
and
They
stuff.
should.
What is what
The
are your thoughts?
schools have become so violent. Um, this, like Kernitha talks about, sexualizing the children. The schools, and like for the teachers who are serious, this isn't the profession you want. For the students who are serious, the schools have changed. They're not healthy places anymore. There's just a lot of violence, bullying. If I had children in this era and they weren't in the right school, there are some good schools. But if they happen to be in one of these underperforming schools, yes, it's better to homeschool. And I think you should get a big homeschool network because there's so much. Like I talk about the fact that we're getting to our third through fifth graders too late. We should be doing what we're doing in middle school at the third grade level. The children, this is a new environment. Everything is sped up. The children are smarter. They're wanting to learn. They get turned off at third grade. These are kids that come in at kindergarten. They've been in nursery school a couple of years, kindergarten, first, second. By having 5 or 6 years of school, they're ready for something else.
Right.
But you keep giving them the same, so they're completely turned off.
Completely
Third
turned.
through sixth grade, it should be an academic skills center where you do have a homeschool environment, where you do go to the museum. I used to take my children out almost every week. It was a field trip because the learning is not, it's different.
Right.
These children learn a different way. The thing that really bothers me is when you have children in a school and they are 15 and 16 years old and they're in an elementary school building. There should not be one elementary school that goes past sixth grade. Seventh and eighth graders are not elementary school kids. They should not be in an elementary school building. They need a separate facility like they do in most normal cities, like states like Iowa and other places. They don't have that selective enrollment mess. And they have a much better system than we do. And so the selective enrollment model, which Brandon is kind of right on that, but you can't just tear it apart. So that's my answer. Yes, homeschooling networks. We need to just get a big homeschooling network. I really just signed up again for the professional development hours that I'm going to be giving what we call teacher CPDUs and parents, where I can have classes where we train parents what to do, how to teach, what tools to use.
Okay.
We can do that. Yes.
And then the Trump dismantling the Department of Education. What is your thoughts on that?
Well, we lost our black teachers under Obama and Arne Duncan. We don't have anything left to lose. Whatever Trump does to the Department of Education, our system was decimated 15 years ago. So, I mean, I don't know what they're talking about. Trump,
I think his main thing is, and it's always been, and I think a lot of people, if they would stop hating him and personally, his thing has always been to give everything back to the states. But unfortunately, Illinois they need federal oversight. They need a babysitter. Illinois needs a babysitter. But they also need they need new young leadership, but they just need new leadership in general, as far as people who are, I believe, from this city, born and raised in this city, know how to move through this city. Like you should honestly be like the CEO of Chicago Public Schools, Dr. Rosita. You know, you at least should be, or head of the Chicago Board of Education. There's no reason why you're not on a board. And the other teachers, you know, Dr. Barnett, Miss Jones, like there's no reason why, and I hope that, you know, that changes.
We have young male teacher-ish who is been on the do not. We're trying to get him off the do not hire list. You know, they're just, and that's why I do this. I've just been blessed to, I don't even charge people for the work I do, because I just realized that these are people who don't deserve this. And they're wonderful people. Walter, I can't wait till you meet Walter. And, you know, we just lost one of our Floyd Bibbs, who we're doing a fundraiser. Excellent teacher. You couldn't find a better person. He passed away last year. But a lot of our people have passed away as a result of stress. Earl Kelly Prince, one of the greatest union people you ever want to know, was Jackie Vaughn's firsthand, died fighting CTU in court. It's such a tragedy, because Earl worked at the union for 27 years, donated all of his sick pay to help the union be solvent, and they fought this caucus. They fought Earl to his death.
Earl. Well, we're going and Earl's memory, and the previous person that you said before that, we are going to make sure that that his story will be told, and his legacy and memory will live on. And we are going to fix this broken system. We're going to fix this broken education system. We're going to fix this broken toxic teachers union. And we are going to do it the righteous way. And I appreciate that. You know, this was like, honestly, I've been trying to get a teacher or an educator on this channel to really explain just the CTU, the CPS, and you actually gave us much more than it was a treat. I expect I would love to try to do this maybe just once a month, just even if we do something of what's going on as far as what's going on now. You understand? So people can actually understand, because a lot of people don't understand. They see the CTU thing, they see CPS, they know the kids aren't learning, but they hear one thing online, you know, they hear one thing from Brandon Johnson, one thing from Stacey Davis Gates, you know, but I do think that they're getting her prepared to run for the mayor.
Yeah, here's the thing. The people at the union is no longer a union. It is a political party. So just look at it like that. They don't do anything for teachers but take their money. The work that I'm doing is what they should be doing.
Exactly.
That I'm doing their job, because they won't do it. But all they will do is run people for office. And like you said, they gave William Hall money. All these people, they're shelling out all of these people money to them. Meanwhile, their members are on it, and they will not fight for them.
At all.
Won't fight. And I'm out here, and they're mad with me because I'm like, oh, Rosita, she's fighting. Yes, I'm going to continue to fight for them. I'm going to fight for my own livelihood. I'm going to fight for the people that don't deserve it. These are great people. The cause teachers are some of the kindest, best people I have met in my entire life. And I know that they deserve much better than this. I know that they deserve much better. So I'm just excited to thank you a million for just having us come on, or having me come on and lay this out. Is so important that the people hear. And it's so unfortunate that our Black media here, I get more from the mainstream media coverage than I do for Black media. They have decided, hey, we're going to shut her down. You know, we don't want to hear anything she's got to say.
We're gonna rise it up. Yeah,
Right.
Your voice, especially coming up, especially with this election coming up, with midterms, and like I said, you have to get on a board. You will get on the board. I will make sure you get on the board, and the other people that you advise too, because that's the issue right now. We have no educators who understand what's going on and who needs to teach these kids, and you guys will not be shut out anymore.
If I was on the board, we would have those Black children in that Bilingual Education Act. If I was on the board, our Black teachers would get justice. I'm doing it anyway.
They're going to get justice
outside.
They are going to get justice, and they're going to be in that act. So we're going to you help.
Thank you. And thank you for your advocacy. I tell people, I try to stay out so much of politics and be bipartisan. But the issue is this: if I've been voting for the Democrat, why is it that I can't go to a party that I supported all my life to even be heard for anything? I haven't done anything to them. They just don't want to hear, oh, you're not a part of our little clique, so you have to. And, I didn't know anything about their clique. I went to Catholic school all my life. I didn't know anything about what they were talking about.
What Catholic school did you go to?
I went to, and that's part of it, I went to St. Joseph's Elementary School on the north side on Orleans. And then I went to Alvernia Catholic High School, 3900 North Lawndale. And I went there for 3 years. I went to public school 1 year, my final year. And that was, I graduated from CN High School at 5900 North Kenwood. I spent 1 year in public school. And see, they don't know me because I'm a North Sider. And secondly, I didn't go to these South Side schools.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons why I think differently. And I didn't know anything about it. I looked up to the Black community on it. And now I just don't look up to you. Because
these are the Coon children and the Coon grandchildren and the Coon great grandchildren, and I refuse. Yeah, no, they would no, absolutely not. I went and boycotted. I protested. What's his name yesterday? Rainbow Push Again. Brandon Johnson. And they're lying to them youth. So yeah, I'm determined to do it every time. Me and Danielle went and did it yesterday. But the Literacy Gap, that is on Amazon.
Yes.
And then it's on Amazon. But you also we need to figure out some book signings for you.
Oh yes.
Yeah,
especially with I gotta order the new book because they're just printing. I ordered 2 to just look at and make sure everything's okay, but they're online, and I'm going to be ordering some. They're a little bit more expensive. The Literacy Gap is 20. This book is 500 pages, so Amazon won't let you sell it. They have a price, so it's for $35. I don't really like to charge a lot, but
so this one right here is 35 at Rainbow.
That one is 35.
Yeah, this is a book that I feel like everybody should get. Because this right here will break down. You need to get both.
Yeah.
You need to get both. And we start with this one because this one right here will break down everything it'll make sense of what is going on.
Right. And it takes you from what started in 1995 with the Amendatory Act. It's a 30 years, spans 30 years of what happened up until 2025. So you got 30 years of history. That's why it's 500 pages. And when I was doing this book, I said, I think I need to do some history on Black educators. Well, when I finished the history on Black educators, I had 500 pages of history. So I said, nobody's going to read a 1,000-page book. So that's what my next book is, Drinking from the Whites Only Found. So I took this book and cut it in half and made it about Chicago. And the next book is going to be a history, but it will include what happened in Black education from 1600 till today. And that's called Drinking from the Whites Only Fountain. And that book, it'll be out soon, but we're going to try to get these up and going first.
Okay, and they can reach you out. Where can they reach you out, Dr.?
Okay. I'm on my groups are on Facebook, Cause Teachers on Facebook. I have a page. I have it. My website is, I have to double check. It was up, but I'm not sure. I haven't been using it. But it's Dr. Rosita on Facebook for elected school board. Then I have Cause Teachers, Chicago Alliance of Urban School Educators, all of that on Facebook. I'm on Instagram under Dr. Rosita, Twitter, Cause Teachers under both of those. You can reach me about email at causeteachers@gmail.com. And you can reach me there or call me at 773-580-7183.
All right.
Okay.
I just want people to know about the cover of it. But there's a documentary, CTU documentary, The Rise of America's Powerful Teachers Union, and I think a lot of people should watch that. It's an hour, but it is something that people should watch to just see how corrupt these people are.
And watch it, because they are not a union. They're a political party you're voting for.
Yeah.
And you need to know who you're voting for. Like Brandon came out, no one knew who he was, but they voted for him anyway.
Yeah.
Because he was a Black man. So you got to know who these people are, know what their intentions are, and they've risen to power. I know them personally, and if you'd asked me what I thought, I would have never thought that they would be in power like this, because they don't deserve it.
No, they definitely.
So I never thought that it would happen this soon, but I have to give it to them. There's some real good organizers. They don't like educated Black people, though, but they're very good organizers. So I hope to see you again.
The difference once the kids pass, but they're going broke. They don't try to steal some more money, but at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to be there. But yeah, this is it right here. So it's on YouTube. Illinois Policy, Local 1, Rise of America's Most Powerful Teachers Union. It's under an hour, but this right here and I believe everybody should watch it because midterms is coming up, and we actually want this to be an end of the era. We want the Chicago Teachers Union to be, once upon a time it was the Chicago's Teachers Union, and that's honestly a real thing, because they're dangerous. They're dangerous, dumb. Jackson Potter's not dumb, but they're dangerous, and but a lot of the people that follow this cult, because it is a cult too, is dumb. They don't care about your kids. It's a money's big business. It's the machine way, and they are pushing for this progressive machine that is is y'all think that the Daily Machine was something. Daily Machine is nothing compared to what they're trying to do and what they're trying to push and what they have pushed since they snuck in government in 2019 with this progressive BS.
Right. Exactly.
Yep. So,
Exactly.
well, thank you, Dr. Rosita. And I plan on hopefully next month you can join me again and we could discuss because we already know it's going to discuss some more education stuff that's going on. I'm going to look up a couple of I was given a couple of curriculums that were placed in the schools, and this is why the schools are the way they are. And I'll send them to you, and maybe next month we could discuss some of those curriculums and more about Dr. Sizemore because that
Yeah.
is more.
And it will help parents. I also have a tool called it for social emotional for our students who struggle with that works like a charm. Um,
Okay.
so we can talk a little bit about that. A lot of parents, when I was in the school, I used it and they asked for a tool. When you have our children who are having difficulty, and all of a sudden we want to whip everybody, but that period is over and we know we can't do that. They
Right.
tell you stop spanking, but they didn't give us a tool and they didn't train parents in how to do something different, So we came up with a tool that we can train you how to make it, so you're not having to whip and beat your children. So it's called the You Must, and we'll start parents on that. We just got to start working with our community outside of the schools.
Right.
You know,
I'll talk to you more about that homeschooling network pod or something because I do want to do one for Chicago Flips Red. I've been talking to Danny about it, and it'd probably be great to get you involved and a couple of other teachers involved, educators involved to figure out how to do this. Right. And someone asked you to speak on Brother Dr. Malik's show tonight that's on WVON.
yes,
Yeah,
they
so
did
somebody
ask
there
someone what.
said, I guess, head on over to Brother Dr. Malik's show.
Oh,
So,
okay, I'll be there. Yeah, I usually call in. I'll call in the second hour. Okay. All
all
right,
right.
take care. It's been wonderful.
Well, thank you so much. And
All right.
I'll be back in town next week. Well, after Bud Billiken parade, we should meet and discuss some more.
Yes, that sounds great.
All right. Thank you again, Dr. Rosita.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Bye bye.
Okay.
All right,
All
y'all.
right, take care.
Take care. So, yes, that was Dr. Rosita Chatonda. That was something I've been trying to do for a very long time. So, I was able to finally link up with her. So, that's good. The Cook County Board finance meetings are happening this week at 118th North Clark Street. The Board of Reviews was today, and while y'all property taxes about to go up, they have no idea. They have no solution and no reason. So even if you go and want to appeal these taxes that y'all are about to get, good luck. And this is why we need to remove everybody because all they kept talking about, like if we don't get any funding from the federal government, what are we going to do? Um, Matt, it's just it's crazy. You know what I'm saying? So that's just what it is. We're broke. We're broke everywhere, and yeah. So it's really time to start doing your homework. Uh, Start really researching your commissioners because the commissioners are just as trash as them aldermen over there. Matter of fact, one of the commissioner commissioners. I think her name is Samantha Steele. She don't even come to work anymore after she got her DUI. She's still a commissioner, and but she don't even come to work no more. Uh, she's oh yeah. Somebody crashing to a Portillo's. So yeah. We got that. Hello. All right, here it is. Uh, so yeah. So basically, um, a child was killed at Portillo's after a car crashes in Oswego's 2-year-old. It's all crazy out here. Everything is crazy. There's a lot going on. Like just pray every day and move righteous. Uh, then somebody asked, Black Danny Davis finally decided him and his cane is going to retire, which is good. And he endorsed LaShawn Ford. LaShawn Ford is going to definitely get that seat. Anybody that's running against that seat, it doesn't matter because he has it. LaShawn Ford. Matter of fact, I mean, yeah, so LaShawn Ford has it. That's that. So he finally stepped down, though, you know. So he finally can go. I don't even know. He wasn't doing nothing when he was in office, Danny Davis, but finally he can go sit down and rest and put that cane down. But yeah, so Danny Davis is no longer. This is his last term, and then he has endorsed LaShawn Ford. So good luck with that. But yeah, just so basically letting you know that they have a couple of no, I don't think they have any more. Uh, the month of August, there's no meetings, so you guys really don't have to worry about going down there. There's no meetings. This is their break, and then get ready for budget season. Budget season is coming up. So yeah. That's it. Get ready for a roller coaster. Oh yes. They also have stalled Walter Burnett's appointment to being CEO of Chicago Housing Authority. I think a lot of pushback and stuff stopped that. So I think they're going to wait a month or two to decide if they are going to appoint him. Now they spent $100,000. CHA spent $100,000 looking for a CEO of Chicago Housing Authority. I don't know how Walter Burnett got in there, but he was not one of the people that was on the list for the CEOs for Chicago Housing Authority. But they did spend $100,000 looking for it. The best bet to put in Chicago Housing Authority as CEO is this man named Eugene Jones Jr. He was there previously. He was not a bad CEO. He's a veteran, but yeah, that's that's their best choice. There's nobody else that is qualified at this time to be the CEO of Chicago Housing Authority. So that's my recommendation. Continue to write the Department of Justice. Continue to call ICE. And continue to stay and stand on your truth. There are people that are going to be out here saying that. I'm starting to hear a lot of people say, well, the Republicans aren't good either. And so I want to break this down. Um, I wasn't in the politics. So now that I'm in politics, I'm going to rewrite politics for myself and what I think a Republican means to my community, means to America, means to family, means to children, means that. So you telling me that they're neither one of them are good, I don't care, because I've said plenty of times we have to revamp all of this because they're both trash. The Democrats, and I said the Republicans. However, I choose the Republicans because when you think of customer service, like I said, I was never into politics. But when I got into this fight for my family, and after 6 months of seeing how terrible the Democratic Party was, and this is the reason why we don't have anything, Black Americans, why we're at the bottom of the totem pole, is because we aren't in government and we allow these people to tell us anything, the Democratic Party. We have not given the Republican Party our votes for 40 years. So I really don't care what y'all say about they're both not good. Okay? As Zoe, I'm a Republican and I know what I am. I'm a good Republican, I'm a good person, and I know what's best for my community, what I know what's best for anybody that is moving the Chicago Fist Red way, the Republican way, and if you believe in that US Constitution and you believe that and you believe in the values and are the policies that the Republican parties have. So I don't want to. I'm tired of hearing, well, they're both. What do you think the Republican Party going to do? Well, why don't you see? Why don't you follow what Chicago Fist Red going to do? Why don't you follow our platform? Why don't you go on our platform, and why don't you read on our website our platform when our platform gets on there, and see if you guys go with the platform? That is my political platform. That is our political platform. We put that, our group put that together. So my political platform for Chicago Fist Red will be on our website. And when you look at that website, that's my platform that we put together for the group. So that's how it goes. So I don't want to hear that. Okay, I don't want to hear, well, they weren't this, they weren't that, they weren't that. Okay, the Democratic Party was trash, but y'all still voted for the Democratic Party. Y'all still dealt with the Democratic Party. Y'all problem is y'all think Republican, y'all think just racist white people, racist white men, racist white rich men. When you dealing with racist white rich liberal men, racist white rich men on the Democratic Party too, entertainers, a lot of Jews, they both, like, if you want to talk about what, just because one just got more black faces that they put out in front, they got more black women, and like I said, and like Dr. Rosita said, they've got the Divine Nine on lock. So y'all think that that's better while they continue to still fuck y'all over? No, that was, like I said, it took. I deal with customer service, and the customer service that I dealt with fighting this situation with my mother to this day, still with the Democratic Party, was the worst ever I've ever had to deal with in my life, and I'm not going to continue to deal with bad customer service because it's black people over there. Like I said, I'd rather deal with racism, if that's what y'all feel like the Republican Party just is, racism, than to deal with a bunch of people that are my color, my race, and don't do a motherfucking thing for me because they are fucking puppets and fucking and slaves. They're slaves to that party. I'm free. I can go anywhere I want to go. I can go here, I can go there, I can go anywhere, I don't got no code to that. Why would I stay in an abusive ass relationship? Why would I stay getting my ass beat over here because he handsome or she fine? Or because he paid the bills. So let me stay over here. Let me say, because I get a little Section 8. I get a little protocol. So let me just continue to beat my ass. No, fuck out of here. Like, nah. So I know what I am. I'm an entrepreneur. I care about family. I care about kids, and I want to make a change. And change, the only change that we can make is going to the Republican side, and then from the Republican side, maybe the Gen Alphas and Gen Zs will probably build an independent party. But as far as my 40-year-old ass, I'm taking my talents right over. Well, I've taken my talents right over to the Republican Party and made my own Republican set in the party. Chicago Fifth Red. We're here. Okay, we're here and we're not going nowhere. And we're about to get down and get in these positions. And that's just what it is. We're gonna lobby. We're gonna lobby. We're gonna get some legislation. We are going to call out the bullshit when it needs to be called out. We are going to make sure everybody gets their chance, because that's the problem with the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party don't want to give nobody no chances. They don't want to let you build your own table. You understand? Me, I'm that person that wants to build my table with a group of people who also want to help other people build tables. We need to have tables. All of us need to have tables. If everybody should be able to bring somebody on so they can build their table. The Democratic Party has one table and they can tell you who gets the scraps. Okay, and then two people at the front of the table, at the head of the table, is two white liberal pieces of shit. And then you got a whole bunch of black coons sitting in there saying, we're telling us anything, telling them the black vote, the strongest voting bloc, anything. But when it comes to any other ethnicity that come over here, any foreign national that come over here, you give them the world. You give them our communities. But when we try to build in our own communities, y'all got all the excuses in the world. No one wants to continue to deal with that bullshit. So you can call me anything but a Democrat. Anything. I refuse. I don't even want to be in the same circle as a person that's proud to be a piece of shit, because that's what they are. To be in government, to be a AKA, to be in the Divine Nine, to have those resources, and you don't even make sure you help your community. Even with the AKAs, y'all got your own credit union, but the credit union is for y'all. Like, what sense does this make? Yeah. So yeah, I don't want to deal with a group of Divine Nines and LGBTQ rejects and illegal immigrants that are being used. The ones that are being used, and then you've got the Hispanic KKK and other foreign nationals in government that's anti-America, and we supposed to deal with that. You got black people that's confused as hell. We dealing with a genocide right here in our communities, but we out here fighting for countries all over the place. And that's just crazy to me. And then if I say anything about it, or I consider myself a capitalist, which I am, very proud to be a capitalist, I get shunned on. Like, how are you mad that I'm a capitalist? My black ass, born and raised in the United States of America. You mad that I'm a capitalist, but other people from foreign countries come over here, poor as a motherfucker, get whatever they want, businesses, everything in our community, rich, become billionaires, become rich, all that stuff. And y'all, and that's okay. That's okay. They can come. We can make sure they get. We're paying for it too. We sponsoring these people to come over. But me being a capitalist, that's where you draw the line at. Get the fuck out of here. Trump is a billionaire. That's what y'all just hate that he's a billionaire when it's hella billionaires on the Democratic side. Like, what are y'all smoking? Like, what dope are y'all on? Like, what is it? Like, what is it in y'all brain that it hasn't like clicked Like, you can be a billionaire and it's okay. You could be a millionaire and be okay. It's okay. I don't have to live. If I grew up a certain way, I don't have to downgrade my lifestyle because motherfuckers don't want to upgrade their lifestyle. That don't got nothing to do with me. And if I want to stay over here, I can. And if I want to help whoever I want to help, I can. And if I don't want to help whoever I want to help, I don't have to. And I think that's what y'all need to understand. Ain't nobody obligated to help nobody up out here except public servants, except these bullshit ass politicians that we're paying with our money. They have no choice. They have no choice but to do what we're telling them to do, and they're not doing it. So we have to remove them. And the only way that they're going to be removed if we get in government. And I'm getting in government. However, I will never be a Democrat. What is the whole purpose of being a Democrat when the Democrats have been fucking y'all over for this long? The Republicans have not been fucking y'all over. As much as y'all keep talking about Trump ain't do nothing as nothing that tops what Obama did, what Biden did. What Kamala was about to do, what Kamala did in California, what Fanny Willis did. She locked all them black teachers up in Atlanta, but she's here. But she came here today to fundraise. Like, these people are criminals, and they're self-hating black people, and that's what the Democratic Party is. A whole bunch of uppity ass, slave ass, coon ass Negroes that don't want to do nothing for nobody and think that they're better because they went to college. Or you don't even have to go to college. Like she said, Rhymefest didn't even got his GED, but he got an honorary doctorate degree, and he out here running around like he a doctor. So yeah, we just fucked up. It's the Democratic Party only care about fame. You can be dumb as a motherfucking rock, but if you are in the entertainment world, or you go to a certain school, or you're this or you're that, then you know that this is the person that you need to follow. A person who's absolutely dumb, absolutely do nothing for the community, will never do nothing for the community because they don't even know how to do nothing for the community because they're not public servants. They don't care. They snuck in. They got or like I said, it's now it's a lot of these kids replacing their parents who absolutely sold out our parents and our grandparents. So you think that I'm gonna let the kids sell us out? Hell the fuck no. We about to call out your grandmama, your mama, your auntie, and your ass. Get you the fuck up out of there real quick. Scope, yeah. Like, no. All of y'all go and fight for Palestine. Go over there and fight for Palestine. Since that's the only thing I got for y'all. That's the only thing I got for y'all because y'all not fighting for us. So y'all might as well go over there and fight for Palestine. Y'all might as well figure out what to go over to Israel, take a flight over to Israel, and go talk to that dude. Okay? Do whatever you need to do. But at the end of the day, you're not fighting for us. You don't care about us. You don't care about nothing about us. You don't care about our seniors. You don't care about our kids. You don't care about nothing. All y'all care about is going to brunches and strolling and barking. Y'all stroll and bark and have meaningless sex and be getting cheated on. And a lot of y'all men are on the down low. A lot of y'all women is on the down low. And y'all miserable and unhappy. But y'all stay together for the look. And then because y'all unhappy and miserable and y'all stay together for the look, you want to put that on other people that ain't got shit to do with what the fuck y'all got going on in y'all miserable ass household. And that's on everything. God bless. Good night. See y'all later.